Today, we'll trace the pivotal years from 1763 to 1776, the years that transformed 13 British colonies into an independent nation. Before 1763, most colonists proudly saw themselves as loyal British subjects. The 7 Years' War, known in America as the French and Indian War, had just ended in victory, but it left Britain deeply in debt. To pay for this, and for the soldiers still stationed in North America, Parliament shifted away from its old policy of salutary neglect. Now, it demanded that the colonies help bear the cost of their own defense. This change sparked the core conflict that would drive the revolution: taxation without representation.
Excuse me, class. Class!
The first sign of trouble came with the Sugar Act of 1764. It lowered the tax on foreign molasses but cracked down on smuggling, sending cases to juryless vice-admiralty courts. Colonists protested. Parliament had no right to tax them without their consent that should come through their own elected assemblies. In 1774, Samuel Adams warned that such taxes reduced free subjects to the miserable state of tributary slaves. Not chattel slavery, but a metaphor for losing political freedom. This idea of inherent rights was drawn straight from the Enlightenment. John Locke argued that all people are entitled to life, liberty, and property. Governments exist only by the consent of the governed. If they violate natural rights, citizens have the right to change or even overthrow them. Then came the Stamp Act of 1765. This direct tax on printed materials touched nearly every colonist, from lawyers to shopkeepers to sailors. It ignited widespread outrage. Groups like the Sons of Liberty organized protests and boycotts. Facing intense pressure, Parliament repealed the Act in 1766, but immediately passed the Declaratory Act, claiming full authority to legislate for the colonies in all cases whatsoever. The stage was set for deeper conflict. New taxes returned with the Townshend Acts of 1767, targeting imports like glass, paint, and especially tea. Colonists boycotted British goods again, defending what they saw as fundamental rights. Then, on March 5, 1770, tensions exploded. In Boston, an angry crowd confronted British soldiers outside the Customs House. Amid thrown snowballs and confusion, shots rang. 5 colonists died, including Crispus Attucks. Paul Revere's engraving, depicting a calculated slaughter, spread outrage across the colonies. Parliament soon repealed most Townshend duties, but kept the tax on tea. In 1773, the Tea Act aimed to bail out the East India Company by letting it sell tea directly to the colonies, cheaper tea, but still taxed. Many colonists saw this as a trap to accept Parliament's right to tax them. On December 16, 1773, Bostonians, some disguised as Mohawks, boarded ships at Griffin's Wharf and dumped 340 chests of tea into the harbor. The Boston Tea Party became a powerful act of defiance. Britain struck back with the Coercive Acts of 1774, which colonists called the Intolerable Acts. The Boston Port Act closed the harbor. The Massachusetts Government Act replaced local rule with royal control. The Administration of Justice Act allowed officials to be tried elsewhere, avoiding local juries. A stronger Quartering Act forced colonists to house troops. And though separate, the Quebec Act expanded Catholic Quebec, alarming many Protestant colonists. Rather than isolating Massachusetts, these acts united the colonies in sympathy and fear. Committees of correspondence spread the alarm. In September 1774, delegates from 12 colonies met in Philadelphia at the First Continental Congress. They agreed to halt trade with Britain through the Continental Association and set up local committees to enforce it. They also drafted a petition to King George III, hoping to avoid outright break. By now, Colonists were thinking beyond the old rights of Englishmen. Enlightenment ideas of natural rights and popular sovereignty took center stage. Montesquieu's vision of separating powers and Rousseau's idea of a government built on the general will reshaped political debates. In January 1776, Thomas Paine's pamphlet Common Sense electrified the colonies. It argued bluntly, a distant king had no natural right to rule free people. America, he said, could become a refuge for civil and religious liberty, an example to the world. Paine's plain language turned complex arguments into urgent common sense. John Adams wrote that it swept through the colonies like a firestorm, pushing public opinion toward independence. By April 1775, war had begun at Lexington and Concord. The Second Continental Congress raised an army and chose George Washington as its commander. Fueled by Enlightenment ideals and hard experience, the colonies moved from protests to revolution. Jefferson's Declaration of Independence laid it out clearly: people have unalienable rights, and governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. On July 4, 1776, the colonies declared independence. A new nation was born, and the world would never be the same. Thank you for watching. If you like to see more videos like this, please subscribe.